All right. Hey guys, this is Matt Dulin with Get Right's Bakery. I'm here on Invest in Denver podcast, talking with our good friend Ian. We met a couple years ago, and we're both kind of respectively starting our own venture in Denver. And it'll be good to discuss a couple things with each other about where we've been and what we're up to now. So I'll let Ian take it back, and welcome everyone.
Appreciate it, man. No, this has been a long time coming, and so much has happened ever since 2020-ish. I think that's when we first met. Heat of COVID, we're only doing pop-ups these days. It was hard for me to make friends, and luckily you and Lindsay were over at the pop-up tent and graciously had a conversation with me, and that's when our budding friendship first started. So thanks again, man. Thanks for hanging out and wanted to talk about Get Rights again. For those of you who don't know, he was originally on the Big Locals podcast at my first podcast venture, but now we've upgraded. We are in this top tier situation, and Matt's just going to be laying down what's been going on in his life. So really excited to hear that from you, Matt. I guess first things first, I got to know where you came from, where did you grow up, and maybe like a quick series of events that eventually led you to Denver. I know there's a lot of things that I want to pick out of that, but let's maybe just leading up that quick series of events to Denver, and then we can pick apart certain parts of it.
Sure. Yeah. So this is kind of like the general spiel that I give to everybody, probably, that can be condensed somewhat, even though it's a very windy path that led me back to Denver. So I was born in southern Arizona in a town called Tempe. I was actually born on Sesame Street was the name of the street we lived on. So that was pretty funny.
Nice.
And then when I was 2, our family moved to Hawaii. We lived on Oahu for a few years. And then I think when I was 5 or 6, we moved to Denver, Colorado. I lived on 33rd and Stewart Street. Back then, our house got broken into, I think, 2 or 3 times in the first year we were there. My bike was always getting stolen. So eventually we moved up to the suburbs in Thornton. And that's kind of where I grew up most of my life until I was about 20. And then when I was 20, I moved to Breckenridge and then got really into snowboarding. That led me into dropping out of college, flying to New Zealand, living there for a couple months and snowboarding for our summers. And then when I came back, I just couldn't really find a foot in the door anywhere. Didn't really like anything. Didn't want to go to school. Didn't want to pursue any of like the normal stuff. So I took adventure as my opportunity and just kind of started bouncing around traveling. So eventually first I went to Hawaii. Backtrack. First I rode a bicycle to New Mexico. After I rode the bicycle to New Mexico, I was set to go to Arizona to go work on a farm. We biked our way to Arizona and the farm was shut down. So we ended up flying back home to Denver. When I got back to Denver, it didn't feel right. Again, couldn't find my foot in anywhere. So I booked a one-way trip to Hawaii. Went to the Big Island and did a stint on a coffee plantation in Kona. Worked there for about 8 months. And then after that, I flew to Washington State. In Washington State, I worked on a vegetable farm in Orcas Island, which is in the San Juan Islands on the northwest side of Washington. And then from there is when I bought a bicycle and saved up while living in a tent while working at the resort over on Orcas. Bought a bicycle and decided I would do this bicycle trip across the country. So I rode my bike from Seattle, Washington to Savannah, Georgia. Took just under 4 months. After that, came back to Denver, started getting back into cooking. And then shortly after that, my dad had a lung transplant, flew to Iowa, stayed in Iowa for a while, was his helper. Lung transplant didn't go through, didn't take. So after my dad passed, I spent the next month or so dealing with everything in Iowa, came back to Denver, decided I would kind of give it a shot and try opening a business. So I opened a food cart back then. I was doing like Colorado barbecue was my idea. At the time, my fiance, my partner, didn't like that lifestyle very much. So I sold the business in about a year. And we went to Arizona again to try to start a farm. Um, Everything in Arizona fell apart. So uh, we went there to have more time. So we had time, but we ended up just living on the side of a river in an RV with no money. We didn't work, so we had a lot of time. But then all of a sudden, we were realizing that the value of our life was pretty low because we didn't
Mm,
have the resources to go out and actually explore much more than like where our feet could get us, kind of thing.
yeah.
So we kind of felt stuck. Eventually worked my way up to Sedona and then further to Flagstaff. In Flagstaff, that relationship fell apart. We decided to split ways. Flagstaff is a super tiny town, so playing the Tinder game got really crazy because everyone's going on dates at the same bar. So eventually you start cycling through and seeing,
Hmm.
the two girls that you went out with, the week and 2 weeks before at the same bar with new characters. So uh, so I left there, found myself in San Francisco. I tried to give it another solid shot at cooking in a different way. I got a corporate chef job at Pinterest of all places,
Wow.
and before I worked there, I thought it'd be a really fun place to go, and also the financial stability point of it, I thought would be really good. But once I was in San Francisco, like I think all of that kind of faded away. I didn't
Mm,
like the type of amenities that like the tech world just kind of plays with and toys around, and how flashy they are with the amount of money that they make, and how they like blatantly will post it on their walls of like how many billions of dollars they made when
yeah.
I was making you know a decent salary but still struggling in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So I was just disheartened and
Yeah.
like kind
Do you
of
mind
kind
if
of
we,
depressed. Yeah, yeah, go
yeah,
for it.
can we, you mind if we stay on that topic a little bit more, especially with you traveling from state to state so often?
Hmm.
I mean, going from the Rockies to Hawaii to Savannah, Georgia to Washington. I mean, this is you've seen a lot of the nation, and here you are trying to find a name for yourself and try to have a more stable lifestyle in the Bay Area, where arguably it has some of the highest salary income earners in the nation, and maybe even the planet, top 1%, if even, right?
Right, for
So
sure.
with what you were living with, I mean, living on farms, living in vegetable farms, and in an RV where you have not much to your name, and the only places you can go where you can go on bike or on foot, and here you are now working with a billion-dollar company. I mean, I don't know how much it was, but pretty close,
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
And then eventually realizing that there's just this disconnect with your own soul and the life you've lived to where you're currently living right now. And you just see these billions of dollars or boastful notes that they're just leaving out to the world for Pinterest, right? And
Hmm.
you just feel like this is not much of what my scene was, I guess. Um, was it the initial salary that really drew you to the place, to Pinterest? And you're like, okay, you know what? Maybe this is something for me to get my feet on the ground and I'm able to make a name for myself. It's just that initial capital. But soon it seems like you just felt like there was just not this personal connection to the work you were doing at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so all of that, the lack of personal connection on all fronts in San Francisco, it at Pinterest especially was really hard to handle. Um, I went there mainly because of the salary and the thought of a work life balance, which I mean, you hear this in everyone's life, but the life of a cook or the life of a chef, you seem to always be like striving to somehow find that balance. But I
Hmm.
think as a cook or a chef, you slowly come to terms with you're never going to really find that balance in this occupation, in this career. Um, and that's exactly what I found in San Francisco. I was working Monday through Friday, which was a big change up. I was just working a lunch shift, which was a big change up. Um, but then still I was there, 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then every day I was commuting, um, you know, plus 3 hours each day, be an hour to work
Yeah.
and then 2 hours from work. What I quickly found out in San Francisco is that if you miss like your traffic window by, 5-10 minutes, you're stuck in bridge traffic for
Mm.
hours. To get 12 miles was, 2 hours sometimes. So it
Yeah.
was it was pretty wild to see. What initially drew me to San Francisco was like the amount of vegetation everywhere. So you have this
Mm.
like dense foliage everywhere and greenery, and you think it's so vibrant and alive. But then, you start to notice that people are kind of in that same, they kind of mimic nature in that way. So it's such a dense population.
Yeah.
And if you take a quick glance, it looks so vibrant and so rich and so full. And then you start to realize how competitive all that is. So if you want to
Mm.
like be the top, getting the sunlight, getting the lush green leaves, you've got to compete against all of the understory and just like shade them out and shade them out. And so if me moving there, I was that understory, just not getting sunlight, not getting, any nutrients that I needed. So I was just totally consumed by those who were before me and with bigger resources
Yeah.
and capabilities to like dig deeper than I was able to at the time. So I felt like it chewed me up and spit me out pretty quick. Um,
Yeah.
Another weird thing was, we'd be in the middle of like a lunch service and my supervisor would be standing, 20 feet away from me and would send me an email about something that was happening right now. And then I would get in trouble for not checking the email and responding to like the issue at hand. When it's like, you just need to talk to me. I'm right here.
For
I'm
real.
not. Yeah. So there was a lot of that added to the workplace that I just couldn't get behind, and I struggled with that piece a lot. So
Yeah, totally. And yeah, I can already imagine like with your personality behind it and how you live your life now, it's just not the life that I pictured you, Matt, to be living, especially in the Bay Area at that
right.
sort of speed of life, right? And
Hmm.
speaking of like speed to life or how careful you analyze your life, I guess it's a little unfair because I know like based on our previous conversations, what your life is like. But I do know that you do a lot of things with intent. You write such awesome blogs that I feel are almost like poetic. I almost forget that I'm reading a blog and it feels like I'm reading a novel instead with a lot of analogies and similes along with it. So I guess before we get into more of your personal story, I was wondering if you can attribute that writing style or even how you converse or mentally picture things like to anything in particular? Was it just the life that you've lived, or was there a person that greatly affected how you look at things? What can you attribute that sort of flowery language that you have with blogs and even speaking?
Yeah. So I guess, you know, I, I
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
I mean,
I started to like um, philosophy in high school, mainly because it always came back to not having the answer for anything, which to me at the time made the most sense. When the rest of the world is kind of trying to define everything, philosophy was always here to just be, people getting drunk off of life and coming back to the point of not knowing, um, like, your biggest truth, your biggest understanding of life was that one day we die. And then that great adventure, no one truly knows.
mm,
So it just had this adventurous um, kind of uh, feel to it that I was really drawn to.
mm,
So I got into reading like Marcus Aurelius was one of like the earlier ones, um, and I think I just really kind of connected with that sort of writing and sort of thought process.
mm,
And in a way, it's kind of almost like how you would write in a journal. to where there's no necessary form, there's no restrictions to how it comes out on paper.
Yeah.
And I think to me, I found beauty in that. So for a while, I got into poetry, and I kind of tended to go towards like people who are more abstract. So I remember for a while I would read Bukowski, which is
Hmm.
pretty crazy sometimes. I don't know. Sometimes I felt like my 20s, that early 20s kind of age where, the age of rebellion almost,
Yeah.
to where society is very on you to like conform and become this whatever it was, go to school, go to
Yeah.
college, get the degree, get the job, be in business, make the money, buy the house, play the game. So to like counter that was everything opposite, where it's just like
Yeah.
free form, free thinking, do as it comes, as it is. It's all perfect. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I think the poetry stuff led into like led into things like the Dharma bums, like Jack Kerouac writing,
Mhm.
which was really cool. Where that was written a little bit more with a little bit more form, but still a little bit more freedom than most. And then he kind of touched on Zen and Buddhism and meditation and things like that. And so
Mhm.
I kind of started playing around with things like in that nature, in that realm as well.
Yeah.
And again, that's the same. I mean, that's the same kind of construct, I guess, if you want to call it that. It's the same kind of philosophy towards life, to where like there's less and less definition. The more
Mhm.
that you try to define something, the further you get away from the truth. And
Yeah.
again, like those kind of remarks, those kind of statements really just kind of hit home for me. And I think as a young 20-year-old, you can kind of live that lifestyle pretty easily. And I think now, as a mid 30s with a child and a wife and a house and payments, up to here
Yeah.
on everything, it's really hard to maintain that philosophy and still have that as like your foundation when you have to play in so many realms within this like physical space.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you have to put on this different mask or this different persona for these certain things to take place. And there's times where I definitely forget all about like that foundation of who I was when I was the young 20s, who liked
Mm.
philosophy and who liked poetry. And now it's just unfortunately, it is about just money a lot of times right now,
Yeah.
because
Totally.
if if it's not, it's almost like I can't acquire enough of it to where it feels like it doesn't exist.
Hmm.
And that's the state where I'm trying to get to, so I can return back to that sort of younger mentality, that freedom
Yeah.
of life, the freedom of choice in a way,
Mm.
because I know that you know there's value to everything, and in order to do those certain things, I need to have something in exchange, and that exchange for me becomes the finances, right? So
Yeah, and a lot of
yeah,
people say that youth is wasted on the young. And here we are as our young 20s where we're so youthful, but we don't realize what we have at the time. It's so
hmm,
tough to understand that it's almost like I wish I had someone tell me that these are the good old days, you know?
right, yeah,
It's so tough to like fully be present in those days when you're always on some sort of mission or something else is going on in your life. But I feel like you still have that cultivation, like even within you, and you have that even within your home space. For example, like I think it was even last year or even longer than that, like you did a fantastic job with your home yard. I mean, the definition of transforming your house to a home. I mean, especially with the inclusion of a greenhouse where you have proper plants and like it's not just succulents or the things that are native to Colorado, but you're actually growing things in there. And I don't know if you're still doing that with the greenhouse, but I'd love to hear more on that. But I guess my main question to you in regards to that is like, why did you feel compelled to like create it rather than hire contractors to complete it for you? I know a lot of people that were just like, I don't want to do any part of this. This is going to take way too much time. It's probably not going to be the best way that I want to do it. Um, and they would rather pay someone else to do this stuff where it's their profession. But here you are getting into the dirts. You know, you almost literally had a green thumb, I'm sure, at some point in time and during
Yeah.
the whole process. So, what compelled you to do that? Do yourself?
Yeah. So I think it stems back to uh, probably growing up and being told that, we don't have the financial means to make certain things happen. Um, so hearing that all the time, whether it was for vacation or for whatever, for vehicles, for the house that we wanted, all these things, there's always, we don't have the money. And I
Mm,
hated that. So I grew up with this like strong distrust, this strong dislike for money. And then the young 20s, I just hated it, despised it, resisted it, tried to live a life without it kind of thing. And you realize you can't. So that's one end of it, is that I still kind of feel like I don't always have the resources to make those things happen. But deep down, it's like I still want to make those things happen. And so, the bike trip, the self-publishing a book, all these things, like they didn't require money, but they required my effort, and they required my time, and they
mm,
required consistent movements forward to make it happen. So I know that I'm able to do that. If I'm committed to it, I can make it happen. I trust that any contractor is a human like me. As long as I put forth effort, it's like stack me up against everyone. I can mimic as best as possible. I can see how you cut a piece of wood. I can see how you put two
hmm
joints together. I can figure it out. I
Yeah.
trust that I can do that. I trust my ability as a human to, go through the process. And I think that's a huge piece of our experience that I think a lot of people don't trust in themselves to embark on whatever that is. So it's like whether it was learning how to laminate a croissant, or
Mm,
learning how to make sourdough bread, or learning how to build a simple like foundation for a frame to build a greenhouse or a shed or whatever it was. You know, if you don't go through the process, then you're just never going to know, one, how to do it, and two, like
mm,
what you are actually capable of. Because so many times before I try it, I don't believe that I can do it. And that's just that thought, that hesitation that says, no, you're not this, so you can't.
yeah.
And then again, it's just like, why do we define ourselves and hold ourselves back from anything? So I think the more that I just go through the process and try stuff, the better I feel about my overall human experience. So
Yeah.
there's nuances to the shed where it's like, oh, I screwed that corner up so bad, or like there's a leak in this spot or whatever it is, and it's just like, yeah, but now I know for the next time, or
That's right.
however it is, or it becomes like a part of the character, and you look at it and it's like, yeah, that's where I like totally missed the nail and got my thumb and I got frustrated. So it's just like there's pieces of you now in the memory of the building. and
Yeah.
and I think when it's your house and it's your mistakes and your whatever, it's like it all adds character to your story, I think. So
Yeah, I love that aspect of it. There's not too many things, I'll be honest with you, Matt, that there's not too many things that I'm willing to do myself, especially when time and money is on the line, and I'd rather get
yeah,
it done fast and quick.
right.
But there are some things, let's say the art potential of it, let's say making music or,
Hmm.
learning how to watercolor. I love watercolor painting,
Yeah.
and it's a whole process to it, and you see that progress of time of like your skill set developing, and you're understanding yourself along the way too. What can I improve upon? How can I make myself 1% better, each day? You don't have to be the best, but be the best you can be. And I know with you starting these new beginnings and trying things out for yourself, I mean, there's no better way to do that, especially here in America, than starting your own business. And you
Hmm.
being a chef, a cook, and baker, and even horticulturalist. I think that's also a name, or botanist at some point in time. I mean, I don't know what you're not at this point, Matt. There's so many cool things about your life and what you've done already that I wish with this whole interview could be like 2 to 3 hours long. But I guess going into Get Rights eventually, like
Yeah, yeah.
at what point did you start Get Rights? Because I know I first met you over in 2020. I think it was in the winter
Hmm.
season at that point. And people aren't going out to pop-ups, but it is during COVID, right? So you
Right.
needed some place to have those sales to get out there into the world, or at least the Denver
Hmm.
community. So I guess what drove you to get started with Get Rights, and
Yep.
why a bakery of all things?
Yeah. So we'll go back to the San Francisco piece. The relationship I had out there ended, and I realized that I needed to go back home to where I had the support system, the friends, everything that I had been trying to find in every new place that I would move to. I had that foundation. I had that support system. I had that all back here in Denver. I just realized that I needed to give that energy to like those pieces to keep those fires lit, rather than trying to start new anywhere else I was going.
Mm,
So I decided to come back to Denver, and you know, my intention was that I was going to work for up to 5 years to develop a reputation as a good chef, someone who is good at leading a team, someone who can train well, someone who can be a mentor, both like inside of a kitchen and outside of the kitchen, show a healthy lifestyle, show a
mm,
different way than partying all the time. Different ways to navigate the kitchen system than what I was brought up in. Because what I was brought up in, I despised, and I tried to get out of the kitchen so many times in my life,
mm,
until I realized that I didn't need to take part in all of that. I didn't need to become all of that. I could be me and create my own way through it all. So I wanted to eventually get to the point where I could share that, which would be my own business. So when I came back to Denver, that's when I got the job at Uncle. I was a sous chef at Uncle for just under 3 years. I worked at Uncle One and then helped them start Uncle Two in Wash Park. Um, yeah, and so I think I was kind of doing exactly what I had planned to do. I was able to mentor younger cooks. I was still having a hard time, with the whole restaurant philosophy, showing that my way was a different way, and perhaps it'd lead these younger guys to a better spot if they only took a few points of my view rather than the old school ways kind of thing.
mhm,
So I felt like I was doing pretty good there, but then I started to fall out of love with the restaurant that I was in. I
mhm,
just wasn't interested anymore in the food that we were doing. Um, I back in Flagstaff, Arizona, is when I like started baking all the time, and I was running some bread programs for some restaurants. Um, Baking and pastry was always kind of this like mysterious world to me, just because you're so removed from it, even though you're 10 feet away from the pastry station, as a savory cook. But
mhm,
um, I just, for some reason, I always just in my head thought it would be a simplified version of a restaurant. And again, the inevitable trying to find the work life balance was like, okay, you need to simplify the restaurant. If you want to have a restaurant and you want to have a life, you need to simplify what's offered. So it's like bakery, but then you can offer, savory components to the bakery, in order to still express that side. Um, and so I'd been doing breads for almost 8 years by the time I was towards my end of my work stint at Uncle. And then, sure enough, the pandemic happened, and that was kind of
mhm,
like the last push in the right direction to just be like, one, to show just how fragile life was, and
mm,
that in a moment everything can be shut off, everything can be taken. People can pass away. People can uh, go away forever, kind of thing, away from the
Yeah.
industry, away from whatever it was. I think it allowed everyone this almost like clean slate in a way, to just say, whatever happens, I'm just going to go for it, and we'll find out once we take that
Yeah.
first step. So it seemed like the least riskiest time to make a fairly risky move. And because the world was kind of in shambles, it didn't seem like you'd fall very far if you fell from it.
Mhm.
So in a way, it was kind of the perfect time.
Yeah.
Um,
And I know a
so
whole bunch of people that came out of COVID from being a server or a bartender, or even in your case, like from the restaurant industry in general.
mhm,
COVID definitely ruined a lot of people's, I guess, regular schedules of that fixed income, you know?
right,
And here's some people that have side hustles or like have things on Etsy or just didn't believe themselves enough, or at least invest in themselves enough to make that final push. And
right,
instead of them doing it on their own, COVID did it for them.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it just makes so much sense that the people that I interview, especially with you, Matt, and like Katie Green of Boozy Botanist, or like Chef Dave. I mean, they're all people that have this innovation and want to see themselves grow as a person. And I'm sure that they would have so many regrets if they didn't even start this business, even if they
hmm
failed. Just the
right,
fact that they started is such a good point for the soul in order for
yeah,
you to be at peace with yourself to start it. So unfortunately, it took COVID to do a lot of this stuff, but in a way, it's a blessing in disguise. But not that hundreds of thousands of people dying and all that good stuff. But
right,
as far as businesses go, it is very significant for people to realize, like, hey, I can do this. And it sounds like
right.
that was the same push for you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're to transform your life, you have to take those moments. We touched on this in the first podcast, where like the passing of my dog, I took it as an opportunity for me to live fuller, and that's exactly what I did here. Is that I saw how fragile life was, how people could lose a business, how people could lose their loved one, how they could lose their own life. And when you're teetering at the edge of that, you have to realize, you have to come to that conclusion that there's no more time worth being wasted,
Mm,
and I have to do this now, and I have to do this my way. Otherwise, my life is going to be regrettable, and I'll despise that I didn't go for it. And so
yeah.
again, it's like, if you fail, like, who cares? I can go get a restaurant job. I could start again. I could, whatever it is. But I think
Mm,
if you don't hit those low points, those realizations where you're just, say it's now or never, I feel like you're not truly living to your fullest existence. So
yeah.
I'm super grateful for all those pushes, for all those, those all tiny deaths and those tiny births that
Mm.
come out of situations like that. Because each time again, it's like they add character to my story.
Yeah, 100%, man. No, this is so good. And I love getting this philosophical approach to you. And I feel like now that we've had this conversation, a lot of people understand sort of your background going into Get Rights, and especially as a pastry chef, your viennoiseries, the just everything bread related or carb related, which I am very grateful for. I love my carbs. So going into like the actual Get Rights business itself.
Mm-hmm.
I know you have like a weekly drop off or pickup, and you just have like an assortment of such good pastries. And people often tag you on Instagram, and I eat with my eyes initially, and a lot of people do in general. But I can almost taste these things on picture. Like I love the presentation that you have with your pastries. So I guess. The reason why I bring that up is because not too many pastry chefs out there, or bread makers out there, take that extra touch for presentation. And what about that presentation aspect of it? Maybe it's an art form for you. Maybe it's just a little bit more of that, like that final piece to the puzzle where you can feel accomplished with each pastry going into it. What sets you apart, like going into, the bakery scene as Get Rights?
Yeah, so I think probably a couple things. First off, is I feel like I'm a perfectionist, which I don't always like, but it does always keep me striving for better. I feel like I'm often not satisfied with whatever I'm making, which is
Mhm.
really absurd for me to even hear myself say. I know that everything I make is something that I like, first of all, which I think a lot of people don't do. I think a lot of times people will make things just because they're what's popular or whatever. I don't do that. I can't do it. So I make food that I want to eat, um, whether that's pastries or whatever it is. I only will create what I want to consume, I guess, if
Mm,
that makes sense. Um, the other side of that is just working in kitchens my whole life, and just kind of learning, you know, the end result and how presentation really does assist in the overall experience. It adds that final touch of care to make it seem like someone is really valuing whoever it is that's going to receive that.
mhm.
You a croissant is still a croissant if it got stepped on, but that's not how you want to present it to, somebody. If it's a
Yeah,
survival thing, or if that's what I'm eating for lunch, in the alley, but for my break, whatever, that's fine. I get it, but there's an element of care that goes into that final presentation, I think, to show that
mm,
it says, like, your time, your money is valued, your
yeah,
exchange is valued. It I think it goes hand in hand with someone who makes a coffee for you, and your latte has this like nice art on it. It's just like,
yeah,
oh,
mhm,
someone actually gave a shit about what they
yeah,
just did. um, I think I think probably what you see most of the time in restaurants, in any profession, I think at all these days, is you kind of have people just going through the motions,
mm,
especially with so many people being distracted by phones and social media and whatever the hell it is.
yeah,
So many people aren't. They're forgetting about this right here, right now, and I think that is present everywhere. I go into so many kitchens and I watch the cooks cook food, and then no one in the restaurant is tasting anything. And
mm,
you know, again, I've almost worked 20 years in kitchens, and I can't go through a dish without tasting, after every step of every seasoning, after every, whatever it is. I need to taste that thing 12, 15 times, sometimes before I trust that it's good enough to go out,
yeah,
to be served to somebody. Because the last thing I want is someone to receive it and it to be, for them not to perceive it in the way that I intended. For them to
mm,
not feel that, like, I don't know. I feel like it breaks the cycle. It's not reciprocal at that point.
mm,
And I feel like so many people are kind of selfishly just not there. They're going through the motions, but they don't have that intent
mhm,
behind what they're doing. And I think if I were to say anything that would like set me apart from anyone, it's that I'm always in it.
mm,
To a downfall for my personal life, with my son, with my wife, with my dogs, with my plants at home. If I'm making something, I'm completely immersed in it, and I think that is one thing that I can't break from,
yeah. No,
unfortunately. Uh,
that's a beautiful thing, man. I know a lot of people, myself including, having the anticipation of the future or the mistakes of the past, it constantly fills our head, you know? Having yourself as a baker and a chef utilize that present moment to really transfer that energy of being present into your food, which gets plated and gets to the customer, and they feel that energy that you put into that final product. And
mhm.
eventually it puts them in the present moment of saying, wow. what a presentation. I am so excited to eat this right now. Thank you so much,
Right.
Matt. You know,
Right.
I feel like there's that transfer of energy here where
Yeah.
if you get crap in, you get crap out, you know?
Right.
So if you're ending up being that 1% that sets yourself apart with just being present, even as a human quality aspect of it, that's huge. Not that many people as a human just consider themselves very present in the moment. So I
Right.
think that's something to not take lightly. So that's a very good quality of yours, Matt. And another thing that I wanted to bring up too is that in a recent video that you put on Instagram is that you want to make the perfect breakfast sandwich that is number one, quality, obviously, but number two, you do want to make it efficient. You want to make sure that your customers are getting it as soon as possible within a reasonable amount of time, and they are excited to see it, excited to eat it, and they're fulfilled with that, right?
Right.
I guess more specifically, like it's a scrambled egg on brioche with pickled peppers and onions with fucking Rapido's signature chili crisp.
Right.
Big shout out there. But the main thing that I really thought that was really good about the caption was that you wanted to test a sandwich with under 3 minutes of cook time. And then you realized by prepping the bacon, it would significantly reduce the cook time to 1 minute. And having the bacon pre-made, I guess pre-made is probably not the best word for it, but like already cooked, right? I mean, it's not like
Mm-hmm.
bacon goes stale very much, but as long as you warm it up, get the fats going and all that good stuff, it's
Right.
still good bacon, right?
Yep.
But at what point do you feel that quality over everything meets the customer's want fast and efficient service? And where do you anticipate Get Rights to be on that spectrum?
Um, yeah, I think that's where we need to test out once the space is built out, actually. Um, but my mentality going into it is just kind of how do I mimic already successful systems um, and portray them on a more personal level. So for me, successful systems meaning Whole Foods salad bar buffet line.
Mm,
That's what I want to offer for lunch service, but it's going to be prepared by a chef, not by a cook who's not looking at their cuts or paying attention to how they're seasoning or whatever it is. But same mentality. It's like pre-made salads, pre-made foods, ready to go for either a picnic or a quick healthy lunch or whatever it
mm,
is. But it's made with intent, made it with integrity. It's going to be quality ingredients, and it hopefully is delicious for everybody, regardless of if they love vegetables or not. Like the intent is that they'll eat this and feel good about their day, and they don't have to just come for just sugar and carbs from us and feel
yeah.
terrible by 4 p.m. The other successful thing would be like, you know, what if you look at McDonald's, before their huge expansion? There's
Mm,
obviously a reason for why they probably grew in popularity. I'm thinking initially they probably started out as a burger chain, and they had, maybe not the greatest burgers, but they had the right intent. They wanted to do, simple quality to some extent, probably back then when they started, right? And they just wanted to learn how to make the process better. So if I could imagine, making that process better before that stage of jumping up to, okay, mass production, how do you incorporate this in 20 spots in every city across the entire, world, basically.
mhm.
Because at that point, your sustainable idea becomes unsustainable because now you're monopolizing the world and you're destroying it at the same time.
Mhm.
So it's like, how do I find that middle ground to where I'm hitting all my marks financially? I'm, making people not have to wait for too long because I'm trying to like value their time, give them more of their day back.
Mm,
Also, giving that like heightened sense of urgency to whoever's cooking. That like fast pace, that quick go go go. Honestly, for me, is like super helpful, and I love being in that moment because you can't do anything else. You're like forced in that moment, and I think that's super beneficial to be in. People call it like a flow state.
mm.
So that quick pace, that quick turnaround, there's no time for thought other than this, 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 this. And it's just like
Yeah.
systematic approach. And I think, the sandwiches I want to, of course, like, as a young cook, you want to be like extravagant and add all these crazy things. And then as I get older, I start to just simplify and remove, rather than refine like you'd find in fine dining. It's more of just, how do I prepare eggs really well?
Mm.
If I can prepare eggs really well and put them on a really well made toasted brioche bun with bacon that was, toasted in the oven 10 minutes ago, because I'm doing, let's say like 10 to 15 orders at a time, like the bacon is still crisp, it's still pliable, it's still warm, it's still fresh cooked, but it's not just cooked to order exactly.
Yeah.
But it's like all these, not even cheat codes, but thoughtful,
Mm.
preemptive motions. Like, I feel like I know kitchens well enough and I know services well enough to where I can strategically place those motions within my own service, within the own flow of like my own restaurant. How can I station that to where, I can sell 15 sandwiches in 15 minutes if all I'm doing
Yeah.
is scrambling 2 eggs to order at a time, or maybe it's 4 eggs to order at a time. So it's just like, either way,
Mm.
that 30-second to a minute process is kind of the only piece to that puzzle that's really like the hard part to dial in. But it's not that hard of a piece.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think I can make that moment happen on a consistent basis for these amount of people in that time window, to where the overall satisfaction rate is, the higher percentage than
Mhm.
someone who gets, I don't know, a bigger meal,
Yeah.
but has to wait longer, or
Yeah.
whatever it is, but better than Starbucks. That kind of
Yeah.
middle ground, to where I want to be that middle guy, that just hits the mark without having to try to be something, you know,
Mhm.
of grandeur or whatever it is.
Yeah, almost like I feel like almost like a fast casual situation. It's not like you're
Hmm.
doing a sit down, you know, everything's over the top or at least at a premium, and you have to create the experience along with it. It sounds like with what you're trying to do here, it's almost like having a gathering place, but maybe for a short period of time. It's not like a
Yeah,
restaurant feel, right? And speaking of which, like I want to hear more about like your space, man. Like you're building it out, or where is this going to be located? When's it going to be
yeah,
ready? And what can people expect with the space?
yeah. So it's in Wheat Ridge. The address is 6985 West 38th Avenue. We are in the same building as the coffee shop Stylus and Crate. They are our neighbors, and we're trying to be kind of a cohesive and complementary relationship between the two of us. So we will not have an espresso or coffee service in our shop, but we will try to utilize them to provide like the full amenities of a bakery.
Awesome.
And in doing that, we can actually simplify our operations. We don't need to hire a barista. We don't need to buy a $20,000 espresso machine that needs
Mhm.
upkeep and maintenance, and all these things for that side of it. Also, I don't have a background in coffee. I know what I like, but I don't know how to make it. I don't know how to do latte art. I wouldn't know how to manage it. I don't feel comfortable managing something that I don't personally know how to do. So honestly, it was kind of a relief, because the original idea was to go in with a bakery and a coffee shop, and it was purely financial. It does create the amenities and that helpful touch, but it's next door, you know.
Yeah.
So support them, support us. I think it'll be
Yeah.
just fine. Yeah, inside the space. So it's going to be mostly kitchen, just so we can kind of keep up with production. It's going to be mainly focused on takeout customers. A lot of people who know us buy our pastries. The pastries usually are purchased, up to like 20 at a time in a pastry box, and they'll take them to the park or take them home or whatever it is. So the business is going to be based off of that because that's where we make the bulk of our income. Um, so it'll be primarily takeout based. But because the restaurant background and because I want people to come around and be present if possible, if they have a few moments, there will be a couple tables inside. So there will be some seating inside for people. Um, and they can bring their coffee from next door, or they can go next door and have their coffee and pastries over there. We do want to offer light breakfast for people who want to sit down or who want to have something other than pastries, some savory options. Um, but then in my head right now, I'm thinking that I want to go from 8 a.m. when we open till let's say 11, and ideally by 11 I'm selling out of pastries and sweet things for the morning. I don't want to be known for just sugar. I don't want repeat customers coming just for sugar. I feel like, you know, I see all these bakers who are, talking about the healthiness of their whole grains and their breads, but they're primarily selling sugar to everybody. And it's like
Mm,
deep down, I know, I know that sugar is kind of this enemy. It's this beautiful thing when you ingest it and truly indulge it and embrace that moment kind of thing. But when that kind of takes over, like I feel terrible when I eat that much sugar.
mm,
So even on a personal level, if I'm creating other things other than just sugar, I can eat things other than just sugar.
yeah.
So I hope that I can create a recurring customer base that can still like live a healthy life, and
Hmm.
that's healthy indulgence, but healthy base diets, and can get a solid lunch or a solid breakfast to where they feel energized throughout the day. I don't want to
Yeah.
have someone unable to make their nightly meeting or whatever it is in a
Yeah.
fog because they ate six croissants before they went in. uh,
Right.
so 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 yeah, around 11 o'clock or so, I want to roll into like a lunch option to where
Mm,
whatever breads and croissants we don't sell turn into sandwiches. I want like
mm.
quick grab and go bites. So I'll take inspirations from like Spanish like pinchos or tapas bars to where it's quick cured meats and really quality nice cheeses in baguettes that are freshly toasted or freshly baked, or just quick, easy sandwiches that are, a few ingredients, but they're done really well.
Yeah.
And then again, like the deli cooler, I want just stocked with prepared salads that you can buy by the quart or pint or by the pound. I'm not sure how we'll like figure it out yet, but
Hmm.
basically kind of like mimicking that. And then when it's cold, like we'll do soups, like whatever it is. I just want to be able to offer food as well. Cause
Yeah.
again, that's my background. That's where I feel the most at home, I guess. And I
Hmm.
think if you're a business owner and you want it to like stay personal, it's like I want to share that home feeling with people. So I think that's where like the end goal goes.
Love
Starts out with
it.
the pastries, keep that going, but then transition into bringing back other foods in so that everyone is supported for their life's endeavors, whatever that is. And then
100%,
lastly,
man. Yeah, go ahead. Go
sorry,
ahead. Hmm.
and then lastly, the plant shop side of things. Basically, the shop will just be adorned with like retail shelving throughout, and then on those shelves there will be different styles and types of plants that people can purchase if they like them. So it won't be like full scale plant shop just because we'll need some space for seating. But that's one piece to my life that I've always incorporated and enjoyed taking part in. So I felt like it was only right to continue it into the business. So it'll be plant shop in some aspect. I'm not sure how much. It just kind of depends on how the final layout looks.
Hmm. Yeah, and I know you've been helping out some other people in my industry as a realtor, doing showings and just
Mm-hmm.
staging the place so pleasantly. And I remember some of those pictures that realtors were tagging you in, and I was like, wow, this really brightens up the room. I mean, a live plant just feels so alive and just makes their whole room that much a little bit brighter, you know?
Right.
that extra greenery. I mean, natural light can only do so much, but having
Hmm.
that pop of green with that extravagant delicacy, if you will, like it's just delicate, like it's a life form in your house, you know?
Hmm.
So, you know, there's that whole component to it where now you have a bakery with a lot of plants surrounding you that you've cultivated yourself. There's just so much life going on in this space. So it's already open, right, Matt? I mean, people can go over to you at this point. It is not
Nope.
open. Okay.
Nope. Yeah. So we just got our permits. It's been almost a year now
Oh my gosh.
since we've been in this process. We just got our permits to start construction. So right
That's
now we host pop-ups when we can. We still are in the pop-up kind of world and collaborate where we can. We're at a couple breweries later on this month. But no, it's still a struggle. It's still a grind to try to get this place
yeah.
open.
Yeah. And
I
so
on
this, sorry, Matt, this podcast will be released in mid-March or maybe even late March.
Mhm.
Will people still be waiting by that time? Are you anticipating this year or what do you
Yeah,
anticipate?
yeah. So definitely anticipating this year. We're hoping spring, but it'll probably be mid to late spring, honestly.
Okay.
If we can get there by April or May, I'll be happy.
Okay.
But with the way the process has been so far, uh, who knows, man?
Yeah.
I can't hold on for much longer, honestly. On like a financial level,
Mm,
it's very hard to open up something.
mm,
And yeah, the system is definitely not set up to start your own thing.
I see. Yeah. That's tough, man. I can only
Yeah.
imagine. And, you know, that's something I'd like to get into actually, is I'm interested to see how these smaller stores, like what the lease agreement is like, even like under construction, what the permitting is like. And that's
Hmm.
something that I'm very interested in as well. But we'll save that conversation for a different time. But I
Yeah.
know with the business aspect of it, I'm very interested in that, and especially like
Yeah.
the financials behind it. So a couple of the things I want to ask of you though, Matt, and maybe like your partnership with Paulette because it's just down the street of my parents' place, and they
Hmm.
have amazing bakers over there, and it's there's always a line out the door for that place. Um, Voted one of the best bakeries and like viennoiseries in like I think in Denver it was like in 5280 magazine or something like that. But you are often a featured chef or baker like at Paulette. So how did this whole partnership come along? I mean, I can only imagine like such forces all under one roof. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's definitely been a fun time every time I go. I definitely feel humbled and a little out of place every time I go there as well. Um, I definitely never stepped foot in any of the kitchens that they worked in.
Mm,
The chef that I did most of my training for, he came from a three Michelin star restaurant, but I wasn't necessarily in a three Michelin star restaurant. He may have like had the same values and everything, um, but it just isn't the same environment.
mm,
So for them to welcome me in the two times that they have, it's you know unreal.
mm,
But I think them starting their own operation is kind of them understanding the base of their cooking. It all needs to come back to community.
mm,
It all needs to come back to the cooking. It all needs to come back to building each other up. I think probably in the restaurants they worked in, if you're a three Michelin star restaurant and there's a three Michelin star restaurant a few blocks away, you're in competition to be the best.
mm.
And that goes on in smaller scales in Denver to where restaurants and bakeries or whoever, it's like everyone's trying to be the best.
Yeah.
One that's it's all relative and up to whoever's judgment. It doesn't really make any sense. There is no
Yeah.
best, truly, right?
Yeah, it sounds
Um,
like almost like you're apprehensive to be in that competitive space. You want it to feel more communal than competitive.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, everyone still wants to be their best and be recognized, right? And I
Mm,
think they understand that, and they still strive for that. but they show it in their actions and they show it with their product. Um, and I hope that they kind of see that in me as well and realize that um, they're just building up the community
Yeah.
by supporting me in that. They the Our relationship started through Instagram when they moved to Denver and started their cottage bakery. I was doing cottage baking. I mean, still am. We were kind of in the same boat for a short time, and it was kind of wild. And I just reached out, introduced myself, and said, "Welcome to Denver. Thanks for raising the bar in Denver because honestly, it needs it. There's
Yeah.
too many places that sell subpar things, again by
Mm.
those people who aren't in that moment, aren't in their food 100%. And there's too many of those that are the norm. So to have these two come in and kind of shake things up was a welcome thing. And again, like I wasn't really in the pastry world, but for me to like just step in and then be like, oh, there's Michelin star pastry chefs opening bakeries,
Mm.
and it's like, and then you got this guy who's never done pastry in his life, who's also done pastry, and he's like, oh shit, I guess. So I get, well, it's nice you're in Parker and we're not next door to each other
Right.
because your bakery would probably get more business. Um, but yeah, I think they've always been super open and receptive to questions on technique and things like that.
Mm.
It takes me a while to even figure out like what question I'm actually trying to ask. I think so many people who haven't like given the process any respect, not respect, but any thought or tried to investigate on their own, will just kind of throw these outlandish questions that are too vague to really give an answer to.
Mm.
And so for like a chef with that amount of experience, you kind of really need like a more direct question to like a piece of the puzzle rather than how did you put this all together kind of question. And I think
Yeah.
more often than not, you receive those vague questions. That you're like, I don't know. And then so you have to give a vague response, which doesn't go anywhere. So for me, it's like, it's spend some time, try some things out, and then I'll come at like one piece and be like, okay, so for instance, like cannelé batter, 2 years ago, it was like, my cannelés are souffling. They're filling with too much air during the bake. They're falling out over the tins. They don't fall back into the mold during the bake. Like what? It's like, what am I doing? It's like, and they're like, well, are you whisking or are you mixing with a spatula? I was like, I'm whisking. It's like, I'm mixing the pieces that have like separated together. And in my head, at the time, it's like it wasn't a piece that I thought about until they asked me that, and then I thought about it. It's like this makes 100%. It makes sense, like totally.
Mm.
It's like, oh, you're aerating the batter before it goes in, and then all of a sudden, those air bubbles, once they get heat, those air bubbles expand. So the less air bubbles,
Mm.
the less the expansion. So to minimize that, how do you stir it? You stir it with a spatula rather than a whisk. It's like, that piece, changed everything. When for me, it
Mm.
was just like, it was a guess every single time I put them into the oven. I had no idea. I had no idea which part I was like trying to figure out. It
Mhm.
was just praying every time. So it was like this 50% yield to where I'd throw away half of them every time.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so
And
like little moments like that um, really like showed to their character for me to where there's a level of respect that's just like, you know, uh, it's awesome to have them around to, show that level of respect to me in return. So
yeah.
to almost like, for them to give me praise makes me feel, crazy, super humbled. And
You sure
yeah,
you got the right mat? I don't know if you got the right mat.
yeah, for real.
No, this is so good, Matt. I mean, I feel like you're a deserving man with everything that they've produced, and I've had your stuff as well for several years. And not, I want to have comparable comments here, but at the same time, like you're good in your own right, and it's good that you're putting people up on a like. This is a quote that I heard. Sorry, I'm sort of bouncing around here, but
No, it's fine.
humility is not just putting yourself down, but it's holding other people in higher regard, right? It's not just like a negative feeling to your own personality or your own persona. It's bringing other people up so that they feel the love, the energy from you, right? So
Right.
I think that it comes to the point of like with you and your situation, your life, your story. I mean, ultimately, you feel like you're so new to the space still, and you're still trying to have a storefront. Here's Paulette coming in with 3-star Michelin bakers and chefs and things like that, and they're coming into the Parker area, and you're like almost intimidated, it sounds like. But at the same
Hmm.
time, like they like real recognize real. They see that you're putting the effort, the love into each of your items, into your food. So I think there's something to be said, man. You should be up there with the greats. So it's and your food reflects that too. So everyone out there, you definitely got to go check out Get Rights. But before we, I guess, turn off the record button, I do want to make sure that if you do have any, I like to turn the tables here. Is give you the mic. If you want to ask me any 3 questions, you can. If you just want to pass on 1, 2, or all 3 of them, let me know. But yeah, I just want to give that a two-way street feel to this interview. So let me know if you got anything.
Yeah. So they'll probably be loosely based on realty or like
Sure.
that market, since you've taken steps further in that direction.
Mhm.
Mainly like, how was the process for you to become a realtor in
Mhm.
Denver, and what are the perks? What pieces to that lifestyle
Mhm.
kind of leave you empowered and are happy with that choice, that decision?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, with me being a realtor, it's honestly really fun. Better headspace for me. I'm doing things that empower other people that want to get into real estate. And for me personally, I see my grandma buying my or her San Diego home back in the 60s for like $63,000, and she recently sold it for $850,000.
Hmm.
And that's over the course of 30 years, you know? It's not going to happen
Yeah.
overnight, but it's
Right.
almost guaranteed that just buying and holding a piece of real estate is the best way to have the middle-aged American or the middle class American generate wealth. And I
Right.
want people to realize that. And sure, it's expensive to like hold a mortgage and fees and things like that, like home ownership. But how do we mitigate that? Right? We mitigate that through renting out the rooms or like renting out the basement in Colorado. So you can get creative with this stuff. And I think that's the best thing about it is that I can get creative. I start to have people that come to me for advice or like how to analyze deals and things like that. And I set my own schedule, which sounds cliche, but at the same time, like I have appointments set from like 3 to 5, podcasts from 12 to 3, and people can come in and talk to me during those times. And before that, I'm always on social media and things like that. So in a way, it is like starting my own business. And my headspace and Kat's headspace, my wife, she loves the aspect of me not coming home into such a bad mood of like, I can't believe I'm doing this for 40 more years of my life. Here I
Yeah.
am. I want to do this even if I retire.
Yeah.
This is such a good headspace for me. And to answer your last part of your question, the perks, I guess if I were to buy my own property, the fees that would go to the realtor, it goes to me, right? So that
Right.
would be like closing costs, interest rate buy down, term assistance, all that good stuff. I feel like there's a
Hmm.
lot more perks that sure it is with the buying of the home, but also, seeing what's going to go on the market, like having
Right.
direct access to the MLS, knowing what's happening before it goes out to the public. So,
Right.
yeah, succinctly, that's the big perks of it. Yeah, love it.
Nice. Nice. Um, yeah, I think one of the other questions are going to be, should I hold on to this house? uh, it's just such a small house. We're getting over it as far as like the space goes.
Mm,
Our son is like outgrowing everything. The house is like
yeah.
full of toys everywhere. It's a mess. It's chaos. Which
Yeah.
is fine. Life should be messy and chaotic, but um, it's 600 square foot.
Mm,
It's in a neighborhood that's probably not going to be flipped, more recently than a lot of other Denver neighborhoods.
hmm
It's appreciated a lot since we've moved in. But if we were to just sell and buy a house that's, let's say, 1,000 square foot, like three
hmm
bed, two bath kind of thing, would that be a more wise investment to sell this and invest in the bigger house,
hmm
or would it be better in your perspective to hold on to something like this,
hmm
and still pursue like the other houses while renting out this?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because I guess on my initial statement that, it is always great to buy and hold, but obviously life happens.
Mm-hmm.
Quality of life is a huge proponent of it, where you want to make sure that your family and your lifestyles are very fitting to where you're living and the situation that you're in. I guess before I answer your question is, number one, how long have you lived in there, and what are how many beds and baths, and does it have a basement?
Yeah, so we've been here 3 years now.
Okay.
3 years in April, actually.
Okay.
Um, 630 square foot is the total. It's two bed, one bath.
Mhm.
If it only has a shower, is it a three-quarter bath?
Yeah, it would be considered that.
Okay, so it's only a three-quarter bath. No, no basement, just a
Okay.
crawl space. Yeah,
Okay. So now I can answer your question a little bit better. Especially with 3 years being in the property, you can now have tax advantages with you selling your property. I don't know if
right,
you knew this already, but as long as you hold on to the property or live in there for 2 years, you can have that the proceeds to you be tax deferred, or at least not taxed, right?
right,
So that's already a huge benefit. And if you say like over the course of 3 years, I mean, you have seen some significant appreciation.
right.
Um, I don't know when this is going to happen. So I don't have a crystal ball in front of me. So what I will say is at this point in time, my buyers are getting away with murder with their offers. If you are very motivated to sell right now, I want to say that buyers have the psychological advantage in this
Right.
market because nonetheless, like I don't know what your interest rate is, but I'm sure it's lower than what it's at right now at six and a
Oh
half
yeah,
percent.
yeah.
So no matter where you move, you're going to be getting that 6.5%. So as a
Mm-hmm.
seller at this point in time, you do not want to be selling if you're not like very pushed into it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you don't want to be selling in this type of market. You might want to be selling when it's at a lower interest rate, I'd say 4% or maybe even lower.
Right.
That way you can get the biggest bang for your buck. There's going to be much higher demand for buyers to buy
Right.
your property, especially with like the upkeep you've done with the place. I'm sure like it looks immaculate on the outside. I haven't seen too much of inside, but nonetheless, like the point I'm trying to drive home is once demand starts coming up, then we start to see earlier of what we saw in 2022 where
Right.
we're getting 50K to 100K over asking price with 10 bids on it, right?
Right.
So I guess at this point in time, if you are not forced or very pushed to sell your home, I would say
Mm-hmm.
wait until maybe summertime and we'll see where
Yeah.
the interest rates are at. And then you can really start to think about, okay, based on the appreciation, based on the interest rates, what is my future mortgage going to look like and how much can I get for the proceeds at my current place?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And then my final question. Um, so I guess go back to like when you're a child, when you're,
Mm,
I don't know, like between like 5 and 13 or so. Uh,
mm,
and what was your like childhood dream, or what you thought you would be doing with your life, what your aspirations were at that time? Like, what did you want to be?
mm,
And the second part of the question would be, do you think that that child, his view of your life and where you are now, do you
mm.
think he'd be pumped about that trajectory and that path and that endpoint or that position where you're at now?
Totally. Wow, that is a really good question. Thank you for asking. Most people ask boring questions. So, to answer your question, between the ages of 5 and 13, I want to say like further along that line, I wanted to become a cartoonist.
Mhm.
I loved the Sunday paper. I would always read Garfield, Peanuts, Marmaduke, whatever. And I was a huge fan of comics, and I actually have a couple strips. I don't know where they are right now, but they're 3 panel, 4 panels, and this typical Sunday paper things. And it got to the point where I no longer wrote in lowercase. I wrote only in uppercase,
Mm.
and that I just consumed it all the time. And I had my own characters and things like that. Um, the second part to that question, would I be cool with the Ian 20 years ahead? Um, I think kids, especially at that age, the mental is not, they don't know about the world. And
Right.
not understanding finances, not understanding wealth, real estate, and things like that, it might be harder for me to portray why this path makes so much sense to me. But I think
Hmm.
younger me would truly appreciate why I'm doing this is number one, getting other people into homes and finding ways to generate wealth for themselves to propel themselves into the next class or whatever it might be. But also, like for me personally, it's time freedom. Like the reason why
Hmm.
I'm investing in real estate, the reason why I'm in this space is so that I can be a cartoonist if I decide to want to, you know?
Right.
But at this point in time, it's just a matter of getting the business going. And I can tell my younger self, like, this is the plan. I haven't gotten there yet, but you can see the pieces that I'm putting into place in order for me to live the life that I want,
Yeah.
including doing comic strips. So
Right.
I think I would be proud of myself 20 years ahead. I'm like I said, I'm in a much better headspace nowadays than where I was maybe like 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And having a salary is one thing, but having your own business and having yourself to rely on only, it's a whole different form of ownership. And I'm
Right.
I'm proud to say that I'm making a name for myself. So it's just a matter of
Cool.
time, man. Patience is
Yeah.
the biggest key here.
I hear you on that one.
Nice. Well, cheers, man. Thanks for hanging out again. I got you a little bit longer than what we originally agreed upon, but I appreciate your time, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you. There's always so many more questions than what I came up with that I want to just expand your mind, man.
Uh,
Like, I need to get into this Matt Dulin mindset, but nonetheless, if people want to reach out to you, man, order some patience with you, get part of the Backyard Dinner series, how can they reach out to you?
yeah. So definitely most up to date is going to be our Instagram. That's at underscore get rights, GETRIGHTS, and then underscore after that as well. And then we have our website, which will update from time to time, especially if we're doing like pre-orders for any of our pastry pop-ups, things like that. And that's goodygetright.com. That's GOODYGETRIGHT.com. And yeah, I'd say those two are the spots where if there's any updates, that's where they'll be. Um, yeah, hopefully in springtime they can come by. If it's released in March, then hopefully we're not too far off. But yeah, hopefully drop by, come say hi, come talk, get a little bit more in depth than just subtle niceties and hellos. As you can see, it I can go deep quick. So if you want to talk about stuff, like come talk about stuff. That's the best part about it is that the brand reflects us, and we want to, make a connection.
That's
Again,
right.
that's the root of all of it. It's like, come meet us, come talk with us. We want to be a part of your life in some way or another. So
Yeah.
come say hello. Yeah.
I will say too, guys, if you do ever see Matt out in public or at pop-ups or even at the Denver Food and Wine Festival, he will definitely make time to have a conversation with you. And I feel like that's the biggest part of it, like getting to know the people behind the business. It's a huge part in understanding the food behind it, the story behind it, and Matt's just an all-around awesome guy. So definitely check out Goody Get Rights, Get Rights Bakery, everything on Instagram. I love it. I'm Ian Jimeno with the Invest in Denver podcast, a five team production. We are chilling here, and thanks so much for hanging out, Matt. I'll see you guys next week, though. See ya.